Let's get it. Welcome into the 49ers Report live here on a Tuesday. I'm Chase Senior. No matter where you are or how you're tuned in, greatly appreciate all of you for making the 49ers Report a part of your day. A loaded show on the docket. We're going to talk free agency buzz. Should the 49ers pursue Derek Carr at that quarterback position? Could they have a reunion with Arden Key? That and a whole lot more. But first, where are you watching from? We're coming to you from Dallas, Texas, where the Cowboys still have not made an NFC Championship game in 28 years. And for the second consecutive year, they lost to the Niners in the playoffs. But where are you? Let us know down in the comment section. Some early commenter shout-outs. Damon Harper, Buddy Moles, BK from the Bay, Eduardo, David Corona, all in the chat right now. Let us know where you're tuned in from, and we'll start to give you some shout-outs here. Jack of all trades, watching the 49ers Report from Indy. King Malibu, Bakersfield, California. John Aiello, the homie, Pennsylvania. John, speaking of you, you're going to be on our Super Chat menu today for people to sign what we are going to deem and what has been deemed the John Aiello football. We're going to put some signatures on it, then we'll get it out your way because the Man Cave sign is finally back in stock. We'll get it sent your way as well. So where are you tuned in from? More shout-outs here. Virgin Islands from Carroll. Elias saying, yo, salute. David Blanco, yay area, London, England. Arrived here from the Bay this morning from Bay Area season, and now you're watching the 49ers Report. That's why we love you. Elias, Fort Worth, Texas, not far from us. Michael Keller, Hayward, California. Louisville, Kentucky is here from DK. Robert from Canada, from Robert Sist. Idaho. Reg Smith, do not trade, sell, cut, or otherwise release Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, he cannot be traded because he is a free agent. Petaluma, California from Holland Tracy. We are going to talk a little bit about Derek Carr today. Should the 49ers at least explore signing him? Grew up in Bakersfield, went to Bakersfield High School, four-time Pro Bowler, pretty solid player. S for sign, P for pass. Should the 49ers explore signing Derek Carr? What do you have to say here down in the comment section? Carson said sign Derek Carr. John Mack, P for pass. Carson, S for sign. George Garcia, P for pass. Holland, pass on him. Damian, sign him. Think about it from this perspective, and of course I'll expand my thoughts. He'd be the best quarterback that Kyle Shanahan has had since becoming the head coach of the 49ers, arguably. Elias, sign. Robert Sis, pass. Mr. Individual, pass. Reg Smith said, don't let Jimmy G walk and forget about Derek Carr. There you go, Reg. Sign if Purdy isn't ready from Frederick. Gunner, he said sign Carr. Ed G, pass on him. That is also our poll question, and so far, 66% of the votes have come in, and they are siding with no. Do not sign Derek Carr. Now it's up to 67-33. Bang, bang from the Sunshine State from Sainsman. K. Crown King wants to see Trey Lance be the quarterback. Frederick, big thumbs down. DK, bringing Teddy Bridgewater, potential backup quarterback for this team. Now, we're reading your comments here in the comment section, but if you also want to join the show, you can do that. A couple of ways for you to get involved. How? Use the hashtag 49ers. Better yet, you can send us in a super chat to get featured on the program. We'll be answering your questions, your hot takes, and your super chats all throughout the show as well. And speaking of the John Aiello super chat menu, here it is. $5, a Niner mug cheers. I have it right here. I'll take a sip for $5. $10, we're going to spin the wheel. $20, you can sign the John Aiello football. Then we'll get it sent out to him. $50, Trace does a Mardi Gras chug. He has a little grenade,
It's called a hand grenade. So they sell these on Bourbon Street. It's full of like a daiquiri, frozen daiquiri, super sugary, super strong. They're really good. So I'm going to pour up if we get a $50 super chat. It's going to be a good time.
And for a $100 super chat, we'll do a segment with Cletus. Cletus is the Fox Sports robot, and Toby Willis sent me a 49ers Cletus. that we were going to give away for this NFC Championship game watch party. It didn't get here on time, though. So if we get a $100 Super Chat, we will debut that. If not, we're going to wait to debut it. We'll do it for a $100 Super Chat. More shout-outs to those of you who are in the comments section here. Sainsman, username, King Malibu, he said, send me one of them. We wish we could send you some drinks over the air. All right, if you're ready to start the show, rapid fire type 49 right now. I'm going to start it off. Rapid fire type 49. Wet Noodle 187 is in the house. What's good, Wet Noodle? I believe we sent you your koozie, Wet Noodle. If you got it, let me know. Janet Wiley, 49. Gunner, Damian, George, Frederick, David, Ed G. Type in those 4 9s. Let's go. Yeah, Wet Noodle, let us know if you got the koozie that I signed and sent your way. Carson, JPRCs. What's up, Chase? Wet Noodle said, I'll check when I get home. If it didn't get there yet, hopefully it's going to get there soon. 16 Bar King is back. Type in that 4 9. And with the show about to start, if you're ready to get going, let's go. Let's go, faithful. Let's go, Niner gang. Hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Just in case we want to loop, just be prepared for that. Show is about to begin. Hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. 140 people watching live right now. 27 likes. Pepper that thumbs up icon, like the video. Try to get to 50 likes before we officially start the show. So much to get to. So much to unpack. John Aiello, $50 super chat. Bang, bang, Niner gang, right off the bat. Now we're going to put John's name on here on his own football. Just kidding. It's already on there. But John with the 50 sent in a super sticker. So we'll do that after this upcoming segment because I do want to get started since some people are anticipating our live show officially beginning as we're about to talk about Derek Carr and whether or not the 49ers should explore signing him. So we'll live up to John Aiello's $50 super chat after this upcoming segment, and with that, the show is about to officially start. So let's get it faithful right now. What's up? Welcome in. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report right here on Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. No matter where you are or how you're tuned in, as always, we appreciate all of you for supporting today's show, and it's all sponsored by RexMD. You can get up to 90% off by using that link down below, rexmd.com/chat. The #1 leader in men's telehealth. We'll tell you more about them coming up here in just a little while. As for what we're getting into on today's show, I want to have an open-minded conversation and explore whether or not the 49ers should look into signing Derek Carr because of all of their instability at the quarterback position under Kyle Shanahan since he became head coach in 2017. First, though, today's poll question is this, and we want to hear from the faithful down in the comment section. What is your level of interest in Derek Carr as a Niner fan? Scale it 1 to 100. 1, not interested at all. 100, go all in, regardless of the price. Join the conversation down below. So let's begin with this talking point and this question. Why talk about Derek Carr here? Well, think about it. The 49ers have a roster that can win the Super Bowl, but they have looming questions at that quarterback position, and Derek Carr is available not as a trade target, but as a free agent, and he does have some ties to the Bay Area. And going back to that previous point, 49ers have not had a lot of continuity at that quarterback position under head coach Kyle Shanahan. Now, they have had a lot of success, back-to-back NFC Championship games, 3 NFC Championship games over the last 4 years, including a Super Bowl appearance back in 2019. But the one thing, in my opinion, that's really held them back, mediocre to suspect to sometimes just average quarterback play. In 2017, Shanahan had 3 QBs, Brian Hoyer, C.J. Beathard, then Jimmy Garoppolo at the end of the year after the trade with the Patriots. In 2018, Hopes were high for the 49ers until Jimmy G tore his ACL. Then we got to see C.J. Beathard and Nick Mullins come in and replace him. In 2019, full season of Garoppolo, 49ers number 1 seed in the NFC, home field advantage. They made it to the Super Bowl and were a quarter away from winning it. In 2020, Garoppolo injured again. Nick Mullins came in relief, so too did C.J. Beathard once Nick Mullins got hurt. Last year, it was a Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance show, mostly Jimmy G. And this year, you had Trey Lance, Jimmy G, Brock Purdy, and then Josh Johnson in the NFC Championship game. As for the latest on Derek Carr and where things stand with him, he met with the Jets over the weekend. The visit was said to have gone well. There's mutual interest between both parties. I personally don't think that Derek Carr to the Jets makes a lot of sense. If he couldn't deal with the fan and media pressure with the Las Vegas Raiders, how's he going to do in New York? He's only met up to this point with the Saints and the Jets, and his brother David Carr said that this free agency process, as it's the first time that Derek Carr can actually hit the market and canvas what teams are out there, will take a while. But why it's interesting to talk about Carr here, not only is he a solid quarterback, although I've said in the past, I think that Jimmy Garoppolo might be better than Derek Carr just from a winning perspective. But Carr does have NorCal and Bay Area ties. He grew up in Bakersfield, California. He played his college football at Fresno State, went to high school at Bakersfield High School, was a second-round pick out of Fresno State in 2014, where at Fresno State he balled out with Devontae Adams, and so far in his NFL career, a 4-time Pro Bowler, including this past year, which was a little bit odd because he didn't have a great season. He was benched for Jarrett Stidham. You look at his numbers from 2019 to 2022. He goes down as probably the best quarterback in the history of the Oakland and Las Vegas Raiders. He set a couple of quarterback records while he was there, and the production has been pretty good. A couple of things have held him back. A lot of coaching changes, offensive instability, as well as a defense that while he was there was consistently not good. In 2019, though, you got a glimpse of what he can do, and he's always been a high completion percentage guy. 70.5 that year, more than 4,000 yards passing, 21 touchdowns, 8 picks. In 2020, completed over 67% of his passes, 4,100 yards, 27 tutties to 9 picks. In 2021, Raiders went on that run under Rich Bisaccia, ended up making it to the playoffs for the first time in a long time, and I thought that Carr played well. And then 2022, he felt the fire beneath him. Him and Josh McDaniels clashed, and the Raiders went on to blow several double-digit leads. Now, we're only getting started with this conversation, as well as what Albert Breer had to say about Trey Lance. But first, as I mentioned off the top of the show, the 49ers Report is presented today by RexMD. Fellas, do you sometimes lack confidence in the bedroom? We've all had those nights where we get a little bit too nervous, maybe too much to drink. There's nothing worse than not being able to put the stick shift in drive when you need it the most. But have no fear. RexMD is here, spreading cheer even when you have a few too many beers. RexMD is FDA approved and the most trusted leader in men's telehealth. They have sponsored today's 49ers Report to help you always be prepared. RexMD has made it simple, easy, and cost-effective to help all the men out there last longer and feel more confident in the bedroom. RexMD makes getting generic and branded Viagra or Cialis easy. Everything's online with RexMD, even the prescription, and they deliver it discreetly to your door. No waiting rooms, no embarrassing trips to the doctor, no insurance, and no co-pays. Take advantage of their best deal they've ever offered for the faithful and save up to 90% off and only pay $2 per dosage with our exclusive link. Head to rexmd.com/chat for this limited time deal. Starter packs of generic Viagra or Cialis are now available for our listeners to get started. That's rexmd.com/chat for up to 90% off. So you looked at the numbers that Derek Carr put up over the last 4 years, and in his career, he's put together a pretty good career. And this is why he leaves the Raiders as the all-time record setter in multiple categories. Throughout 148 games played, completed 65% of his passes, 35,000 plus yards, 217 touchdowns to 99 interceptions. There's a reason also why he has a market, why he is in demand. And there are teams who are quarterback needy are reaching out to him in hopes that he can maybe become their franchise guy. So with that, let's transition to another question here for the audience. Should the 49ers sign Derek Carr? This is our live poll question right now. 64% of the votes coming in as no. You let me know, S for sign or P for pass. As for how Derek Carr relates to the San Francisco 49ers and whether or not they should go out and sign him in free agency. Having two quarterbacks on their rookie deals gives the 49ers flexibility in building their team so that they can afford Trent Williams, Fred Warner, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, as well as a guy in the future like a Nick Bosa. But also, while the 49ers haven't shown interest up to this point, did they just have Derek Carr or a version that's like him for the last couple of years since that trade in 2017 with Jimmy Garoppolo? Obviously, Derek Carr is a better athlete, a better thrower of the football, but I actually think that in some instances, Jimmy Garoppolo is a better quarterback than Derek Carr. And that's what's interesting, is that do the 49ers think that Derek Carr would be that much of an upgrade? And if the answer is no, why pay a lot of money to Derek Carr if you just got rid of a guy who plays like him in Jimmy G, and Jimmy G might be a better winner at that quarterback spot as he's won more than 70% of his starts. With the current quarterback situation in the Bay Area, you look at Trey Lance, great ability, but lacks experience. He's played and started 21 games combined between North Dakota State and with the 49ers since going back to 2019. That's a problem, though. And that's why the 49ers might look at a veteran to bring in this offseason. And for Brock Purdy, I thought he played well in relief of Jimmy Garoppolo. But is he the long-term answer? Some questions do remain and linger there. Before it's too late, though, this is why you go back and have this conversation about Derek Carr. The 49ers have to capitalize on this Super Bowl window. Trent Williams is going to be playing forever. Norris Kyle Juszczyk, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Fred Warner. Nick Bosa is still young, but this collection of talent on this Niners team makes them Super Bowl contenders in 2023. It allows them to compete for yet another Lombardi trophy and put together another magical season like they had this year. But they have to capitalize, and if they don't, it will be an opportunity that went by the wayside. It's telling, too, that the 49ers don't seem to be in the mix for Derek Carr. There's been not much buzz about them going after Carr, which is interesting also because Derek Carr does have those Northern California ties as he grew up in Bakersfield. San Francisco must think that it's in a good spot at that quarterback position. Now, if a signing of a quarterback does happen, and I don't think it's going to be Derek Carr, or any other player in NFL free agency, or whatever happens with this football team, we cover it here on the San Francisco 49ers Report, closing in on 80,000 subscribers. So lock us in today. Bang Bang Niner Gang, daily shows on the Niners. As for the latest on Trey Lance, Albert Breer spoke on the critical year ahead for Trey Lance and certainly had some interesting things to say, and he's really not misfiring in what he did have to say about Trey Lance. I think really, as much as anything else, this is a critical year for him because the 49ers have got to make a decision on his fifth-year option after this year. And what history tells us is if you get past this point, you get past year 3 and the fifth-year option has not been picked up, an extension hasn't been done, generally, those guys are on their last legs with the teams that they're with. And yes, it's a huge season for Trey Lance. He's now heading into year 3. He has 4 NFL starts under his belt. He has a lot of potential, good size, good arm, solid mobility. He's made some throws at the NFL level that have made you say, wow, this guy does have some talent. But then he'll miss a layup, and he can't do that. He'll miss a wide-open wide receiver. The read won't be there, or it will be there, and he looks to get a little bit confused in the pocket as for what he is going to do next. And if he doesn't play at all or very little this year, then yes, I don't think the Niners will exercise that fifth-year option because financially it won't make a lot of sense. Before we hop on out of here for this particular segment, appreciate all of you for watching. Feel free to interact with me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm on there at Chase_Senior, same handle on both platforms. All right. Jorge Lopez, I haven't seen enough of Trey. Me either. Since 2016, he's completed and thrown like 400 plus meaningful passes, that too is a problem. All right, so we asked you this earlier. Where are you watching from? Let us know down in the comments section. Trace has that grenade filled up to pay homage to Mardi Gras. He's going to get that ready after John Aiello's $50 super chat. Akron, Ohio from Mr. Block Ice. Speaking of Mr. Block Ice, the super chat just came in from him. Steve Cass is in the chat. That led to Holland Tracy saying, preach, Steve Cass. What did Steve have to say? Let's see. Derek Carr will teach them to panic when things go wrong. That's why the Raiders got rid of him. Exactly. That's why I think the Jimmy Garoppolo is a little bit better. Trey is a rifle from Crown King. He does. Rick Torres, my guy. What up, brother? Tuned in from Florida. Sierra Blanca, Texas from Damien. New Jersey from Spider. Snowy Spokane, Washington from Wet Noodle. It's 80 degrees here in Dallas today. Very, very nice. All right, Mr. Block Ice. Who should we put the franchise tag on? Not a lot of good candidates. Honestly, it might be Robbie Gould, as boring as that sounds. John Aiello with the $50 super chat. So with that, you saw the super chat menu a little bit earlier. Trace put together this grenade because he's a New Orleans type of guy. So he's going to drink his grenade straight from Bourbon Street in New Orleans. Give that a little bit of a chug. Might look a little bit weird because of the green screen in the background, but there you go. A little grenade for Trizzy. Kind of sweet, sugary type of drink, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I have the Niner mug here.
It's, daiquiris, frozen daiquiris.
Frozen daiquiris. A little bit melted now, obviously.
Yeah, it's melted. I got the grenade in November, so it melts.
John Aiello, thank you so much for that $50 super chat. Let's take a look at our super chat menu, then we'll keep it moving on today's show. Appreciate all of you for watching. $5 Niner mug cheers, but for Mr. Block Ice, he sent in a 2. He's a real one. I'll give you a cheers here. $10, we'll spin the wheel. $20, you sign the John Aiello football. And what was the other 2? $50 was the grenade. And $100, we'll bring out Cletus. Thanks to Toby Willis. You know the Fox Sports robot? Toby Willis sent us a Niners Cletus. I will do a segment with him at the end of the show if we get a $100 super chat. To get on the show, hashtag 49ers, better yet, super chat to get your questions answered. Shoot, even if you have a hot take, you can get those featured on the show as well. As for what's coming up next, some loaded Niners free agency buzz and rumors. Excited to dive into all of that. That's what's coming up next on the show. In the meantime, AFX Apocalypse. Mr. 49ers guy is Patrick Seatman there. He is here at the office, but he's doing something else. He's producing some shows for some channels that we're trying to launch here at Chat Sports. That's also where your super chats go. Us continuing to grow here at Chat Sports. 1,000 watts, trade Trey. We've talked about that a little bit. No serious buzz outside of that Texans conversation we've had, really. Harold Murillo, what's good, brother? Think about it. 49ers need quarterback depth. Derek Carr at least has beaten Kansas City. If Trey ain't ready, then Carr can be a nice backup. See, here's the thing. He'd be way too expensive to be a backup because there are other teams who are going to offer him $25, $30 million. Aiello! Let's go!
John Aiello!
John!
I'll go get Cletus.
So our last segment, we're going to have Cletus out here. Trace can go get it right now because I said we'd show it to you. Everybody type John in the chat. That's a beer cheers for sure. John Aiello, the legend. John, what a guy. Ed G typing John. Who else is going to type John? We're going to debut our Toby Willis Cletus. He sent this to me in mint condition. Check this out. Cletus, the Niners version. We'll do a segment with Cletus at the end of the show. 2 more segments left to get to. Janet Wiley, Steve Cass, Gilbert, SIC, Mr. Block Ice, Daywalker, Harold Murillo saying John is the GOAT. He is. Carson, John, Mark Frusi, John. I thought that said Fauci for a second. Carol Nelson, John. 1,000 watch, John. And if you want to show John more love, $20 super chat. We'll put your name on here. Then we're going to autograph this and send it to John ILO. All right, 49ers free agency buzz, rumors coming up right now. So let's hop into it right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. This is the 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for locking us in, subscribing, and watching. If you haven't subscribed, do so right now because we'll be following the Niners and updating you on every step of this offseason, a pivotal one for San Francisco. As for what we're getting into on today's show, some loaded 49ers free agency rumors and buzz, and here's some of the topics that we're going to discuss on today's slate. We have the latest on Jimmy Garoppolo. Could the 49ers sign a stud cornerback from the Pittsburgh Steelers? Mike McGlinchey heading to this team who could pay him a lot of money. And could the 49ers bring back a familiar face along the defensive line? First, though, San Francisco. Subscribe for daily shows on the 49ers. We're approaching 80,000 subscribers. Let's honor the great, the GOAT, Jerry Rice. And subscribe today, as year-round, we're bringing you the most informative, entertaining coverage on the Niners. Let's begin with Jimmy Garoppolo. What's the latest on him? A couple of teams are said to be showing interest in Jimmy G, who have a lot of questions and needs at that quarterback spot. Now, some dominoes have to fall. What happens with Derek Carr? What happens with Aaron Rodgers? How do some players perform at the NFL Scouting Combine? Those dominoes start to fall, and those things fall in place, then that leads to maybe Jimmy Garoppolo going to a particular destination. But could it be the New York Jets as that destination? ESPN naming New York as the best team fit for Jimmy Garoppolo, and here's why. Yes, the Jets could trade for Green Bay quarterback Aaron Rodgers, and Derek Carr is visiting with them too, as both parties have interest, but if none of that comes together for New York, Garoppolo would immediately make the Jets better from an offensive perspective under new coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. They will likely feature the timing and rhythm throws along with play action elements. Garoppolo completed more than 67% of his passes with 16 touchdown passes in his 11 games played this past season before suffering a foot injury. I'll also mention the Bucs as a fit for Garoppolo too, if they can figure out the money. So obviously, if Derek Carr goes to the New York Jets, then Jimmy G won't go there. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could be a team to show interest in Garoppolo to replace Tom Brady. And that would be funny because he was drafted to maybe replace Tom Brady with the New England Patriots. That didn't happen. He got traded to the Niners. Then if he goes actually to Tampa Bay, he might have the opportunity to replace Tom Brady. Now, obviously, with the Jets, the Robert Saleh connection is there. He was the defensive coordinator for the Niners prior to DeMeco Ryans, and the organization makes sense for Garoppolo as a landing spot. They have a really good defense, have a pretty good run game once Brees Hall comes back from that knee injury. Some young wide receivers need to bulk up that offensive line, but they're ready to win right now. And Jimmy G can add that to that New York Jets culture, which is desperate to have a consistent winner. With that, let's ask you this. Predict the future of Garoppolo. What will his 2023 destination and beyond be? Where will he sign? Let us know down below in the comment section. Now, last year in NFL free agency, the 49ers made a splash by signing Charvarius Mooney-Ward from the Kansas City Chiefs to fulfill that number one cornerback spot. Could they be bringing in another very good cornerback by the name of Cam Sutton of the Pittsburgh Steelers? ESPN listed Sutton as a move that fits what he likes to do as a player and what he does well and what the 49ers have a need for in free agency. Sutton had a pretty good year, expected to be one of the most sought-after corners in NFL free agency behind a guy like James Bradbury. 10 pass breakups for Pittsburgh this year, 3 interceptions. He was targeted 71 times in 2022. gave up 36 grabs, and had a Pro Football Focus grade of 72.2, which is pretty solid. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, well, you signed Charvarius Mooney-Ward last year. I thought that Deommodore Lenoir filled in well. You drafted a guy like Samuel Womack. Can Emmanuel Mosley come back? I'd rather go Mosley, but here's why ESPN thinks Sutton makes a deal of sense. Sutton will have multiple suitors given his flexibility to play in the slot. Tennessee, Atlanta, Las Vegas all work here. But with the number of 49ers defensive backs heading into free agency and Sutton's ability to cover in man and find the ball in zone, the fit works in San Francisco with new defensive coordinator Steve Wilks, who, by the way, has a defensive backs background, very good at developing that position. Sutton posted 3 interceptions and 15 pass breakups for the Steelers in 2022, which were both career highs. So good timing for him to have a career year as he's set to hit free agency. What I want to go back to is that the 49ers paid big money to Mooney-Ward. I liked what I saw in the development of Deommodore Lenoir. I thought that sometimes he got way too much flack. He played solid football. Samuel Womack in the preseason as a slot cornerback did play pretty well. Not sure what's going to happen with Jimmy Ward. Can you count on a guy like Ambry Thomas whose production slipped and injuries popped up this year? There's no question. The 49ers do have some questions at that cornerback position. Cam Sutton, a name to certainly monitor in the free agency market. Before we continue to move forward with our latest 49ers free agency rumors and news, today's show is sponsored by Cultivate. Head to wecultivate.us/chatsports to start saving money, but also to know where your products are coming from when you shop through Amazon. Cultivate, free browser extension that brings transparency to your Amazon shopping experience. Cultivate shows you the brand, seller, or product origin and identifies local alternatives that support local community efforts while saving you money. With over 50% of Amazon U.S. sellers based in China, Cultivate offers a way to avoid trickery from these sellers and keep money in the U.S. economy. Cultivate offers alternatives that are on average 30% less expensive than Amazon without any additional costs, such as Amazon Prime. It can even identify local alternatives that you can pick up the same day. That's great if you need something fast. Cultivate users earn free donations as rewards for using the extension, and the more you get it, the more you earn in donations by increasing your level. In fact, Cultivate donates 51% of the revenue they make on your purchase. So what are you waiting for, Niner faithful? Go to wecultivate.us/chatsports and download Cultivate for free on your web browser. Let Cultivate bring transparency, savings, and community support to your Amazon shopping journey. Support the show. Download with our link. It's down in the comment section as well as in the description of this video. We continue to move forward with some free agency buzz pertaining to the Niners, with free agency coming up. March 13th is the date when teams can start to tamper. A couple days after that, these deals can be made official. Mike McGlinchey to Chicago. This is something that we talked about in the past here because that's a team with a lot of needs at that offensive line spot. They need to provide protection for Justin Fields, and Mike McGlinchey is also going to look to get paid. McGlinchey could get paid big-time dollars in free agency by a team like the Bears, who are desperate for a right tackle. And in pass protection, it's not like Mike McGlinchey was fantastic this year. He was solid. He was good. But as a run blocker, it's one of his strengths. He's actually pretty solid. And he is arguably the top, maybe second best right tackle who's going to hit free agency this year. More than 1,000 snaps played. 561 of those were pass blocking snaps. He had 10 penalties. Some of those came at head-scratching times, no doubt. 6 sacks allowed, not great. 3 hits allowed with 27 total pressures, but again, very good as a run blocker. And with Justin Fields in that Chicago Bears offense, the Bears do like to run the football with him in Fields, as well as some running backs. ESPN on McGlinchey to the Bears. McGlinchey didn't produce his best tape in pass protection last season, but he has the blocking traits at a premier position to upgrade a Bears offensive front that must do a better job of protecting quarterback Justin Fields. He wins with angles and the ability to get off the ball. And while McGlinchey's pass block win rate slipped to 89.6% this season, analytical nerds, you'll love that, his run block win rate of 81.2 ranked 5th overall in the NFL. It could be a big multi-year deal for McGlinchey. Bears general manager Ryan Poles would be adding a starting right tackle to address the subpar play of the Chicago offensive line, which gave up 58 sacks last year. And if the Bears can give him that deal, the 49ers simply will not be able to afford it. So what do you think? Should they re-sign him? And for they need him to come back, given some of the question marks along the Niners offensive line, pay for too pricey. Sound off with what you think down below. Could a familiar face return to the Niners in free agency? This is a move that I wouldn't hate. Arden Key. Remember him? He balled out in 2021 in the regular season as well as in the playoffs, and the Niners got him on that cheap deal. He came over from the Raiders where it looked as though he was going to be a bust. Former third-round pick out of Michigan. He ended up playing really well, and because of that, signed a nice little lucrative deal with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Arden Key going to be a free agent as well after signing a one-year deal with the Jags. And I said all offseason, while Nick Bosa is the best pure pass rusher in the game, and he won Defensive Player of the Year this year, he was deserving of that because he was a menace. He caused destruction. He wore down a little bit toward the end of the year, and Nick Bosa needs some help to keep him fresh entering the final month and going into the playoffs. And I'd like, ideally, to see the Niners bring in an edge rusher who's a little bit more productive than Arden Key, but if you bring him in, as he has familiarity with this scheme, and you're able to save some money and bring in another guy, perhaps re-signing a player like Samson Ebukam, maybe you address some of the questions along that defensive line and at that edge spot opposite of Nick Bosa. Key in 2021, solid player. 6.5 sacks, 36 pressures, 14 hurries, 17 quarterback hits, and 5 tackles for loss. With the Niners, he was more of a rotational pass rusher. In 2022, he was signed by the Jags to be more of a frontline starter and didn't do a ton in the first half of the year with sack production. Really started to turn it on toward the end of the year, and in some of the biggest of games as the Jags had to fight for a playoff berth, he played well, brought some swagger to that defense, and in 2 playoff games, he showed up on the stat sheet as well as in the game on the game tape. 4.5 sacks in 2022 for him, 44 pressures, 28 hurries, 15 quarterback hits, and 5 tackles for loss. We already know, because he's played in this system, because Steve Wilks is going to run a similar one that the one D'Amico Ryans had employed, that he is a good scheme fit for this team, and you can probably get him at a pretty affordable price. Anywhere between $4 and $6 million would be my guess for Arden Key, considering the sack production went down a little bit this past year, but an interesting player nonetheless, and a guy who I'd like to see come back, partially because he'd bring that swagger back to this Niners defense. Before we get out of here, subscribe for daily shows on the San Francisco 49ers, and if you want to join me in the comments section, you can say it with me. San Francisco! If you're a diehard Niner fan, this is your spot for the best Niners coverage. Say it with me. San Francisco. Another super chat came in from Daniel. What's the best option for a quarterback? We can either do it in-house, trade, or free agent. Well, the best free agent quarterback is Derek Carr. He's the one who's available. The best trade quarterback would be Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion. In-house, everything that I've gathered from being at the Super Bowl, talking with people, everything that I've read, everything I've listened, Kyle Shanahan really likes Brock Purdy. But the elbow injury is a concern, and Trey Lance is going to have an opportunity to have a monster offseason because he's going to be taking all of the reps during OTAs and during some of training camp. And if he lights the league on fire and he impresses this coaching staff as well as his teammates, he has an opportunity to unseat Brock Purdy because Purdy's not going to be able to practice and maybe play for a little while and become the team's starting quarterback. All right, $10 coming in from Daniel. That's good for a wheel spin. Let's see where we land here. Debo chant. Debo.
Whoa. Debo. Whoa.
$10, we spin the wheel. And because our guy John Aiello sent us in a $100 super chat, we're actually going to be doing a segment with Cletus here. Cletus is the Fox Sports robot. And Toby Willis, who sent us the Niners motorcycle helmet, he actually sent me this, hoping that it would come for the NFC Championship game, and it never did. So this might be a next year super chat giveaway. But I had said, if we get a $100 super chat, we can unveil Cletus, and we can do a segment with him and show everybody who Cletus is. Because this thing is absolutely awesome. I'm going to take it out of the box here. I'm going to show you Cletus. This thing is in mint condition. So shout out to Toby for keeping it in just tip-top condition. Saintsman with the 20. How cool is this thing? Cletus. How cool is that? This thing is badass. Now, I'm not going to give any promises to give it away as a super chat item next year during one of our watch parties. I might just have to keep it myself because it's that cool. And I don't see many things like this hitting the market. So, we're doing this segment with Cletus here. Once we start answering your questions, Cletus is coming out. All right, $20 from Saintsman. We need to buff up the offensive line to better protect the quarterback exactly, and that's why that Mike McGlinchey decision is huge. That's why center and right guard are big decisions to make. Saintsman, you're going on the John Aiello football here. Anybody who sends in a 20, you're going on this as well to show some love to our Super Chat MVP and John Aiello. Saintsman, the newest addition to our football here. Here's our Super Chat menu. $5, Niner mug cheers. $10, we'll spin the wheel. $20, you get to sign the John Aiello football, as we just mentioned. $50, Trace has to do another Mardi Gras chug out of the grenade bottle. And for $100, we're doing a segment with Cletus, which is what we're about to do right now. Segment with Cletus, thanks to John Aiello's $100 Super Chat. It is not called Cletus, by the way. Cletus. Rick Torres would like that joke. Health is 49ers wealth from Mind Reader. Yes, it is. David Corona, what up, David? What up, Chase? 49ers all day, every day. You already know, bro. Defensive line has not been the same since 2019. In terms of sack production, they were a little bit underwhelming this year. I think that sometimes sacks are a little bit overrated, but yeah, they were underwhelming basically the last month of the regular season combined with the playoffs. Holland Tracy, even if Purdy's surgery isn't a total Tommy John, it's going to be a 12-month recovery. It's been said to be 6 months, but if they go in there and figure out that something's not right, then yeah, it could be a little bit longer with this recovery. By the way, we're in Dallas. Brock Purdy is expected to be in town tomorrow to get that surgery and to get checked out again. So that's going to be interesting, no doubt. Yeah, getting it done in Dallas with the Texas Rangers team doctor. Rich Millich, Niner mug cheers. Thanks to Rich. Cheers, homie. If there are 3 questions on the offensive line, remind me of the most likely offensive line free agency targets. Well, Mike McGlinchey is probably the best right tackle out there. Caleb McGreary out of the Falcons organization, he's also up there. Jawan James is a good offensive tackle. At center, Ethan Pocic from the Cleveland Browns is probably the best center. And at right guard, Isaac Seumalo. So there you go, Rich. Couple of offensive linemen right there. Brian Dan Johnston. Chase, do we think the Niners have trust in Lance? I think it's hard to trust a guy who has started 21 combined games going all the way back to 2019, has started 4 games in the NFL, and in live game action has attempted 420 passes since 2016. That's a little bit of a problem. Holland Tracy with another 5, with the last one that came in from Rich and Hollins. I'll give you a little chug out of the Niner mug. And this headset, feeling snug. That's for 16 Bar King out there. Rich Milich, I asked this because it's unlikely to totally rebuild an offensive line with this window open. Totally. That's why that Mike McGlinchey decision is such a difficult one. Saints man, $100 for the robot? I don't know. I think I might want to keep it for next year's watch parties. That's what Toby wanted us to do. So I just wanted to debut it and thank Toby Willis for this. And then John Aiello brought it out for the $100 super chat. So we're going to give a shout out to John Aiello and Toby Willis to start off today's show. Let's get into it. Let's talk about Justin Houston being a free agency target for the Niners. Then we'll start taking some of those super chats as well. And if you want to send in a super chat as well as some questions, use that hashtag 49ers. Today's San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports is sponsored by RexMD, the #1 go-to spot for men's online telehealth. You can get up to 90% off by using that link down below. It's rexmd.com/chat. As for what we're talking about on today's show, could the San Francisco 49ers sign pass rusher Justin Houston along this defensive line to help out Nick Bosa? Throughout his entire NFL career, he has been a great pass rush specialist. But first, to all of you who support our show, all of you who subscribe, I just want to say I greatly appreciate it, especially those of you who donate to the show with super thanks as well as super chats. Toby Willis is a real one. He sent me this 49ers Cletus. Cletus is the Fox Sports robot that you see that comes crashing through before game broadcasts, and he sent us this at the end of the season in hopes that we'd be able to use this for a Super Chat giveaway prior to the NFC Championship game. Unfortunately, it came in the mail after the NFC Championship game, and because the Niners didn't make it to the Super Bowl, we weren't able to debut it. So I wanted to show some love to him for being an absolute real one. Then on our live show, John Aiello has been a Super Chat MVP all throughout this season. He sent us in a $100 Super Chat because he wanted to see who Cletus was. So John, Toby, and to the entire Niner gang that supports the show, we do appreciate it. Let's go back to Justin Houston here. Could the Niners sign him in free agency on the cheap to be a good rotational pass rusher on the other side of the line of scrimmage from Nick Bosa? For a long time, Justin Houston has been a very, very good player, and honestly, he could be Canton bound because he's had that good of an NFL career spanning many, many years. And the production has been there for a long time for Justin Houston, and as he continues to get older, he continues to have some really good production. In 2022, after signing a short-term deal with the Baltimore Ravens, he played 14 games this past year, 9.5 sacks, 21 tackles, 17 quarterback hits to go along with 7 tackles for loss. In 2021, 4.5 sacks, 15 games played, but still 17 quarterback hits, 6 tackles for loss, and 34 tackles. In 2020, 8 sacks, and the year before that, 11 sacks. So yes, he might be 34 years old, but because of that, you can get him at a very cheap price. And when I watched the Ravens this year, then when I went back and rewatched the tape, honestly, Justin Houston looked pretty spry. Still had some athleticism. Still had some bursts coming off the line of scrimmage. And I think this guy can still play. Obviously, you don't want him to be an every down pass rusher. But as a rotational pass rusher, you can do worse with more expensive options and guys who don't have the level of production of Justin Houston. So really, to summarize the thoughts here, Justin Houston, as an affordable one-year deal, I am totally in. And you might be watching right now saying, well, after having the production that he had with Baltimore here in 2022, he might not be all that affordable. Well, if you look at his contractual history, I actually think he is going to be. Because in July 2022, he signed a one-year, $3.5 million deal with the Ravens. Year before that, 1 year is $2 million. And in March of 2019, he signed a 2-year deal, $24 million. Didn't end up going through that entire contract with a lot of production, right? And $12 million isn't what you want to pay a guy like that if the production isn't there. But he's not going to be paid $12 million on an average annual value basis. I think it's going to be more so $3.5 million and somewhere in that neighborhood. This 49ers defensive line, opposite of Nick Bosa, it's been a big talking point this offseason. It just needs to get better. Outside of Bosa's 18.5 sacks, a major drop-off to 5 sacks for Samson Ebukam, who's also going to be a free agent. Charles Ameni, who had 4.5. Drake Jackson with 3. Kevin Givens with 2. They need to bulk up on that defensive line so that Bosa can be fresh later in the season, but also they simply need to get after the quarterback a little bit more. I'll tell you this, right here on the 49ers Report, this is your one-stop shop for all things 49ers free agency all throughout the year. You see, down here, diehard Niner fans, subscribe today. NFL free agency starting on March 13th. Year-round, we give you coverage on the San Francisco 49ers every single day. Grind and hustle. That's what me and Cletus are all about. Today's 49ers Report is presented by RexMD, the #1 leader in men's telehealth, up to 90% off if you head to rexmd.com/chat. Fellas, do you sometimes lack confidence in the bedroom? A lot of people have had those nights where they get too nervous. Maybe they had too much to drink. There's nothing worse than not being able to put the stick shift in drive when you need it the most. But have no fear, RexMD is here spreading cheer even when you have a few too many beers. 16 Bar King, what do you think about that? RexMD is FDA approved and the most trusted leader in men's telehealth. They have sponsored today's 49ers Report to help you always be prepared, fellas. RexMD has made it simple, easy, and cost-effective to help all the men out there last longer and feel more confident in the bedroom. RexMD makes getting generic and branded Viagra or Cialis easy because everything's online, even the prescription, and they deliver it discreetly to your door. No waiting rooms, no embarrassing trips to the doctor, no insurance, and no copays. Take advantage of their best deal they've ever offered and save up to 90% off and only pay $2 per dosage with our exclusive link. Head to rexmd.com/chat for this limited time deal. Starter packs of generic Viagra or Cialis are now available for our listeners and our viewers to get started. That's rexmd.com/chat for up to 90% off. Let's begin answering some of your questions here on the show. This one coming in from Mr. Block Ice. $2 super chat. Who should we put the franchise tag on? Now, keep in mind that we are recording this during our live show on Tuesday. The franchise tag window has opened. If there is a player who could get franchise tagged, a name to watch, Robbie Gould at that kicker spot. Right now, he's top 5 in highest average annual value for kickers. The franchise tag would bring up his salary from about $4.5 million to just over $5 million. Guy's 29 for 29 in his playoff career. Getting a little bit older, but not showing his age at all. I'd think about that. Daniel, $10. What's the best option for a quarterback we can either trade for, sign in free agency, or a quarterback in-house? Trade Aaron Rodgers. He's the best trade asset out there at that quarterback spot, albeit his age. Free agency, probably Derek Carr, because he's the best available free agent quarterback out there. Keep in mind, Lamar Jackson went back to the Ravens on that franchise tag. And in-house, everything that I've kind of gathered from being at the Super Bowl, talking with people around the league, Kyle Shanahan really likes what Brock Purdy was able to do this past year. But Trey Lance will have his opportunities. He's going to get all the reps throughout OTAs. He's going to get a lot of the reps, in my opinion, during training camp as well. And if he is balling out, slinging the rock, why move off of Trey Lance after you drafted him number 3 overall and used 3 first-round picks to get him? Saints Man with the $20 donation. We need to buff up our offensive line to better protect the quarterback. I agree. In the biggest games of the year, I thought San Francisco's offensive line got manhandled a little bit by the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. I have question marks at center, right guard, and right tackle. The whole right side of that offensive line, a little bit of a question mark. Jake Brendel's going to be a free agent. Spencer Burfer going into year 2. Mike McGlinchey, a free agent. And some buzz right now that Colton McKivitz is being groomed to be the starting right tackle. How's it going to hold up against a guy like Micah Parsons or Hassan Reddick? That concerns me a lot. Rich Milich, $5 donation. If there are 3 questions on the offensive line, remind me of the most likely offensive line free agents. So at right guard, the best is Isaac Seumalo of the Eagles. He could get between $8 to $10 million per year. At right tackle, Mike McGlinchey is one of the best looming free agent targets at right tackle. Kayla McGarry from the Atlanta Falcons is a good player. Jawan James going to be a free agent. At center, Ethan Pocic is a really good center. He'd be a dream target for the Niners. Holland Tracy with 5. Carr is a crybaby. Yeah, we've talked about Derek Carr here on the show, and I don't think it's realistic. The Niners, it's pretty telling, haven't shown a lot of interest in Derek Carr either. Look, if you can't handle the pressure from the Las Vegas Raiders media and fan base, how are you going to handle it in New York with the Jets or with the Niners when if the seat gets hot, you certainly feel it, especially for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. So what do you think? You tell me. Should the Niners sign Derek Carr? S for sign, P for pass. Let us know down in the comment section. Mr. Block Ice, do we pay Juwan Jennings or let him go? I like his play so far. So he is an exclusive rights free agent. And almost every time there's a guy who is an exclusive rights free agent, has that tabbed on him, they rarely leave. So I believe that Juwan Jennings is going to come back. He's like kind of under contract for this upcoming year. I do expect him to come back and be that good third down option that he's been for this football team over the last couple of years. Last one from Rich Milich and our boy Cletus right here. My interest is on the defense. How much of a personnel and strategy adjustment will this be? I think that is the bigger story because of that unit carrying the team this past year. Your thoughts? Rich Milich always bringing the heat with some really good questions. I don't think that the Niners are going to really change a lot to their scheme. Kyle Shanahan said in his end of the season press conference that, look, we want to maintain a similar scheme because we've had one of the best defenses in the NFL over the last couple of years, and I think that that's why the Niners didn't hire Vic Fangio. He kind of likes to run that hybrid 3-4, whereas the Niners have the personnel to run a 4-3. That's the other part of this. You'd have to cater your offseason objective to trying to bring in different players at linebacker, by the way, and along the defensive line if you want to change your scheme. So I think the Niners are going to have a similar scheme here. I don't think there's going to be much of an adjustment. Maybe as compared to maybe going wide 9 up front, which is when those 4 down defensive linemen are spread out so wide, they close it in a little bit more and maybe a little bit more often. But I do expect, given what Shanahan said, the fact that Steve Wilks runs a 4-3 historically, there's not going to be a huge change on the defensive side of the football. Make sure you subscribe so that you can get your questions answered, your super chats in, and so that you can be informed on all things Niners all throughout the year. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Subscribe today. This is your go-to spot for all things San Francisco. Cletus appreciates it as well. All right. Cletus, the man. Cletus, 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 Cletus. Nathan, should the 49ers draft a center or get J.C. Tretter? Well, J.C. Tretter retired. I don't think he's going to come out of free agency. If he's willing to, that'd be interesting. I thought that the Niners really missed Alex Mack this past year. But yes, I do believe that signing a center would be wise. It'd be smart to get that future starter. Janet Wiley, or is it Jeanette? One of the two. Bring Joe Flacco to the Niners and Adrian Peterson and Patrick Peterson and C.J. Mosley to the Niners or Mike White. Wow, that's a lot.
That sounds like the dream team, like my dream Madden team in 2011.
Yeah, a few years ago. Adrian Peterson, washed. Patrick Peterson, semi-washed. Joe Flacco as a backup. maybe as a third stringer. CJ Mosley, been a little bit underwhelming for the Jets, but good to see him stay healthy this past year. Mike White, going to be a free agent. Not a bad quarterback 3. He's definitely not a starter in my opinion. I don't know why people try to talk themselves into that. All right, we're 9 likes away from 100 likes. If you haven't hit that thumbs up icon, make sure you smash it. We are also $8 away from $200 in Super Chats. And if we get to 200, I'm going to chug the rest out of the Niner mug. We're up to about here on the Niner Cooler mug. So if we get to 200, I'll chug the rest. Here's our Super Chat menu. $5 Niner mug cheers. I'll give you another one. $10, we'll spin the wheel. $20, you get your name on the John Aiello football. $50, Trace will do his Mardi Gras chug. And for a $100 Super Chat, I guess we already did this. So if we get a $100 Super Chat, we'll just go crazy for you. Here's our boy Cletus here, though. Thanks.
We'll go crazy with Cletus, baby.
Crazy with Cletus. Crazy with Cletus. How can we use Trey Lance from Chualora? Less as a runner, please. More as a thrower, and have a similar game plan that Shanahan had with Brock Purdy. I think the Trey Lance would be able to execute that. I really do. Go crazy with Cletus. There it is. So we'll stay live and hang out as long as some Super Chats come in. If not, all good.
Also, feel free to use hashtag 49ers or to ask some questions.
Yeah, if you have
Send
more
in
questions
a
for
Super
me.
Chat to ask a question. That way we can get you on the show.
Got past 100 likes. Yes, sir. We appreciate it. Steve Cass, I hope that in the draft the Niners find a good center and a great right guard. That would be ideal. Although I do believe that Spencer Burford can be a good player. The Pro Football Focus numbers did not indicate that at all, but solid player. It's possible, as offensive linemen are very rarely drafted in the high rounds. I mean, Jason Kelce was drafted in the 6th round by the Eagles. Like, you could get some really good offensive linemen late in the draft. You really can. Are you talking high rounds, though, as like 1st or 2nd, Steve? Because I could see what you're talking about. Could kind of go both ways. But technically, high rounds would be later rounds. At least that's how I kind of see it. All right. We're going to bring out the Super Chat shot clock here. 2 minutes on the Super Chat shot clock. If we get any Super Chats within 2 minutes, we'll stay live. If not, we out of here. Thanks to John Aiello for being a real one today. Riz King Tay. 49ers say a prayer so Seattle can get Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's pretty lethal. You want to face him 2 times a year? 408 West, what's good? Chase, Trace, what do we do at quarterback? What do I think they're going to do? I think it's going to be Brock Purdy and Trey Lance. 2 quarterbacks on their rookie deals, and that allows them to pay big-time dollars to other premier players. I think Kyle Shanahan believes that with his scheme, they can win. But I think they need to be a little bit better at that quarterback spot. Wet Noodle, sign Carr, trade Lance for a second, get the center from Minnesota. That would be something. My only issue with Carr, is he mentally tough enough to play for the Niners and in a lot of big games in which he has not played a lot of big games in his NFL career? That's a little bit of a concern. $122 and counting. Been another successful show. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Shout out to John Aiello and Toby Willis helping us bring out Cletus here. This thing is incredible. It's like heavy too. We are Fox Sports. This thing is badass. Very neat. All right. 10,
9,
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll let you get that 20-second delay since some people are watching the show a little bit delayed. I'll answer, let's see, another question or two. The real king of Memphis, I think, will sign Joe Flacco. Please not as anything other than a third-string quarterback. Rich Millich, last thing you want, developing offensive line guys with the window open like this. Exactly.
Here's a hypothetical.
Wet Noodle, you have a great night as well. What's up, Trey?
Here's a hypothetical. If you think that, or do you think that Joe Flacco could have done more than Josh Johnson in the NFC Championship?
Yes, I do. So maybe in that case,
in that regard, I think it might be worth. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just because of his experience, he can throw the long ball.
Yep.
Josh Johnson was just in over his skis. True Allure Chase, how can we pay Derek Carr? How will he play in cold weather if he signs with us? I mean, playing in the Bay Area, you won't have to play in a lot of cold weather. Elsewhere, though, he is bad in cold weather games. He just simply is. All right, that's going to do it for our live show here on the 49ers Report. Thanks to all of you who tuned in all throughout the day. We appreciate all of the support. And make sure you turn on those notifications and subscribe. Therefore, when we do push out videos or we do go live, you will be notified. Niner Gang, Niner Faithful, I appreciate you as always. Salute to everybody who tuned in today. Thanks to all of you for your support. Oh, another super chat came in. Mr. Block Ice.
Not today. Not today, sweetheart.
Give me that mug.
Give me that mug.
Because we got to 200. I got to chug the rest.
Give me that content.
Tight end situation, draft a mofo that can block and do the similarities like Kittle. Depending on our cap, focus on the draft. We're good at late round picks. I'd like to see them bring in George Kittle's heir apparent. I think at some point you have to do that soon. You have to plan for whenever the end is with Kittle, and that gives you 3, 4, 5 more years to do that. And a guy who's not Tyler Kroft, who's maybe a little bit of a better blocker. I agree. As for the Niners in the draft, needs that I would say, in no particular order, right tackle, right guard, center, cornerback, safety potentially, defensive line. Stetson Bennett would be amazing as a backup quarterback, I believe, in Shanahan's system. And running back. I wouldn't hate running back. And can you bank on a guy like Danny Gray making that next jump? 408 Wes with the 5 just because, bruh. So for 408 and Mr. Block Ice, let me chug the rest of this.
Chug, 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 chug. Let's go!
Cheers to the gang. Bag Niner gang. Xavier Malera, let's go Niners. Let's go Niners. Let's go Niners. Mr. Block Ice, chug. I wish I could, but I'm at work. All good, homie. All good. Saints man said Big P. A pass on Derek Carr. Artful Dodger, ain't nothing finer than a 49er. All right, now we're going to sign off. Thanks to all the donations that came in. It allows us to build our staff, build new studios. Today, we started putting content on more NFL channels out there. That's what your super chats do. They really do go a long way. Mr. Block Ice, hey, I'm back to work. Be safe, my Niner fan. Salute to you, Mr. Block Ice, and everybody else who hung out with us and rocked with us today. We'll catch you next time here on the show. We're back. Holland Tracy, we couldn't go anywhere without answering your question. He's not, and he throws everything away. You're talking about Derek Carr. I agree. I drank all of this, Holland. So I owe you on next show, Holland. Remind me next show. I'll give you a sip for that, Holland Tracy. We greatly appreciate that. We had to come back for you. So at the very least, we put back on the show for you. All right, now we're signing off. Again, thanks for all the donations. Peace. BK. Now, a lot of people might be watching on delay. So, BK, I hope you're still watching by the time we answer this. $5 super chat. Do you think we should try to re-sign Arden Key in free agency? I do believe that. I talked about it on the show today. I think that he would be a very good rotational pass rusher for the Niners. And I'd be all in on bringing him back on an affordable deal. So, BK, if you want to have more of a conversation about that, you can hit me up on Instagram or just go back to one of our segments in which I talked about Arden Key for a little while, looked at his numbers in 2021 with the Niners. Obviously, he's a scheme fit, which is why I like it, and then in 2022 as well. You're the man, BK from the Bay. We appreciate you, man. Hope all is well, and we'll sign off here on the Niners Report.